What you think about when you're born into a fire. Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. Our brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race.
Hey.
Hey Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome everybody. I am Will Bird, and this is the Cold Beer Confessional. We didn't do a show yesterday. Yesterday was a bad day, but we're back tonight. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm Will Bird. This is the Cold Beer Confessional. If you want to support the show, you can do that at buymeacoffee.com/coldbeer. www.buymeacoffee.com/cold beer. Thanks for coming out. If you want to support the show, that's great. That's how we pay the bills. But if not, I understand completely. I forgot to announce one of the donations that came in the other day, and it was a pretty interesting one. This is either right after the show or at the end of the show, the last show I did, day before yesterday, and it was from Burt Lynch Location Services. Said, please don't bother Burt. The supercomputer uses a lot of power, and we can't afford to find him at a new location. So make sure he stays at his current location without harassment, because I heard when they fired that up, the local dam drops like 2 feet. Okay, the supercomputer is way too heavy duty. Okay, we gotta chill out on the Burt Location Services. Thank you guys again for joining us. Let's start. So I just stumbled across this the other day. It's just funny. It's excerpts from Laura Loomer's deposition. Damn it, it better play.
An excerpt from Laura Loomer's deposition. Lawyer, can you read the tweet out loud? Loomer, hey Marjorie, remember when you destroyed your family so you could have sex with a Zangief cosplayer? Tell me again.
So she's talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they're making her read her tweets out loud in the courtroom.
And about the excerpt from Laura Loomer's deposition. Lawyer.
Zangief is the big, hairy-chested guy from Street Fighter, right? That's what she means. She says Zangief.
From Laura Loomer's deposition. Lawyer. Can you read the tweet out loud? Loomer. Hey Marjorie, remember when you destroyed your family so you could have sex with a Zangief cosplayer? Tell me again about the Arby's in your pants. Can you explain to me what it means to say to her that she has Arby's in her pants? Arby's sells roast beef. Right. Can you tell me why you were talking about Arby's in her pants? Well,
so everybody knows what she means when she says she's got Arby's in her pants, okay? Right? We have the meats. She's talking about her vagina. Looks like an Arby's roast beef sandwich. Not Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer will not admit that in court. Instead, she tries for about 10 minutes to convince the lawyer that she meant an actual Arby's roast beef sandwich, like wrapped up, you would buy from Arby's, that she went and got one of those and keeps it in her pants. I swear. Not making this up. I don't know why she just didn't admit it, like, well, I guess it was because it's a defamation suit. But she's like, well, yeah, obviously her vagina looks like a roast beef sandwich.
It means to say to her that she has Arby's in her pants. Arby's sells roast beef. Right. Can you tell me why you were talking about Arby's in her pants? Well, it's just an expression. What is the expression trying to convey? It conveys the reason why she got a divorce. Because she had roast beef in her pants? Yeah. She puts Arby's in her pants? Yeah, she does. If I ask Marjorie Taylor Greene, she would say that she puts Arby's in her pants? It's my best belief. Yes. Are you making a derogatory comment about her sex life by talking about Arby's in her pants? No, I'm talking about Arby's, the sandwiches. I'm talking about Arby's. Luma's lawyer then says the funniest thing ever. Where's the meat? Anyway.
Loomer's lawyer then says, "Where's the meat?"
I'm talking about Arby's, the sandwiches. I'm talking about Arby's. Luma's lawyer then says the funniest thing ever. Where's the meat? Anyway, America is well and proper fucked. Good luck to each and every one of us. Also, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and he is desperately trying to cover it up with the help of the Republican Party.
So there you go. I don't know. Pretty interesting to me. Laura Loomer doing her thing. What the fuck? Is this people dressed up as Phineas and Ferb?
Fuck a dollar, girl, pick up this. And fuck a cowboy, girl, you need a real nigga.
Oh, they've resized the person. Okay.
Knickerbockers hurting.
Makes sense.
Bend over, ho, show me what you're working with. Shake your ass. Watch yourself. Shake your ass. Show me what you're working with.
Okay. That was freaking me out for a second. Anyways, thank you guys again for joining us. That was a little warm up with Laura Loomer. I want to show you something kind of interesting because I'm a nerd. You might have literally no inkling what this is. You may have no interest whatsoever. It doesn't matter. Just follow along. So this guy, which we've watched before, Data Slayer, this is the guy that bought the camera and reverse engineered the camera. He buys electronics to see if he can reverse engineer them and use them in ways that actually breaks them, right? Can I hack a traffic camera? Can I, intercept what's supposed to be secure communications? So he bought a Wi-Fi router handset for a walkie-talkie. He bought the military's latest and greatest Wi-Fi secure walkie-talkie. And then he figured out how to intercept all their messages with $100 worth of parts. It's pretty interesting. The military actually contacted them not to yell or cease and desist. They wanted to know how to make it better.
I just reverse engineered a $20,000 military IP mesh radio using open source parts totaling only $106.23. Sure, the government has been known to overpay for things, but I could build about 200 of these for the price of a single unit of theirs. And last week I posted about this on Reddit, and a few days later.
So he posted an article on Reddit. It says, okay, so it's not the $8,000 MPU-5, but it has potential to come surprisingly close. With a few tweaks, I think any ambitious tinkerer could close that gap. What I've built here is a Manet's mobile ad hoc network running on Wi-Fi Halo 802.11s, fully open source, entirely DIY, and something you can replicate yourself. No cloud subscriptions, etc. And honestly, credit where credit is due. None of this would have been possible without the work of an anonymous but gracious engineer who helped me get this up and running. Fork his repo here. He's doing the heavy lifting on the builds I used here. I just stood on his shoulders.
The U.S. military contacted me. Fortunately, not to shut me down, but just looking for advice, which I gotta say, felt pretty good.
The true power of ATAC is being able to get situational awareness in the palm of your hand. Usually that was reserved to kind of your TOCs, right? Your tactical operations centers where commanders and planners could see the big picture. But when you enable warfighter, which is something I think that the current Army and military, Marines, Air Force, they are trying to get there.
Department of War.
Kind of,
that's right.
Because of their own procurement processes, they're going about in a very, very slow manner. And you got to test, and everybody has an opinion about some piece of kit, right? So it's very challenging in that aspect. But the way special operations used it, and now you can go onto a target and then you can see where everybody's at. You can coordinate fires. Hell, there's some apps in there where you can send through either Link 16 or Saddle straight to a fast mover to drop a bomb on target. We used it in other ways, such as helicopter interdictions. The Bloodhound tool is very, very useful. We know how long it would take us to get somewhere. We would be able to pull the metadata off of video feeds so that we know exactly where that vehicle was, and it would cut that time down. We also used it for what we call mad minutes, where we had to shift target. We had to come up with a plan really quickly. Usually it was a bunch of guys huddled up against a helo and coming up with a hasty plan. We could do it all from our phone. We can watch the video right in the palm of our hand. So when you network ATAC, it becomes extremely more powerful.
But what did I just build, and what exactly does it enable, and why is it ruffling so many feathers? Freedom Tech is finally catching up. I'm talking about decentralized open source tools that you actually own, built by companies that encourage tinkering instead of suing you for it. That's something I can get behind. It's that Southern engineering grit I admire, making gear tougher, smarter, and more useful by pushing it past the limits, and being able to sideload, extend, and overload overclock my tech to do things nobody thought is possible? That's exactly what this channel is all about. This device creates a private portable IP network, but let's see how far it can go and what bandwidth it can support. I'm heading into a signal dead zone, and I'm bringing nothing but
So he was able to build what they paid $20,000 for about $100,
a Starlink and 2 Wi-Fi.
which is pretty crazy.
Can I create a fully functional long-range wireless internet network from scratch and actually use it for real-world practical uses like chat messages, GPS coordination, push-to-talk?
The reason they're using this in the field, well, like special forces and forward controllers and shit like that, is everything from surveillance to calling in airstrikes.
ATAC, video streaming, and internet connections. This feels like reliving the glory days of walkie-talkies as a kid, except now it's upgraded to the latest Wi-Fi standards. We're talking 802.11s mesh and 802.11ah halo. So instead of just goofing around in the backyard, you're running a legit long-range encrypted internet network. And the DoD may or may not want a word with you. If this doesn't work, I may have wasted a lot of time and a lot of money. But if it does work, this changes everything. But before breaking into it, just what the heck is this thing? Okay, let's keep this dead simple. It's a mainnet, which stands for Mobile Ad Hoc Network. It sounds complicated, but all it means is it's a self-contained portable node that links up with others just like it. Each one of these nodes is built around a small computer, usually a Raspberry Pi, running an open source router software called OpenWRT. That's the brains. On board, you still get traditional Wi-Fi, dual band 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, which gives you a couple hundred feet of coverage, which is fine if you're in the same cabin or campsite, but it's not enough if you need to reach miles down the trail. That's where Halo comes in.
So that would just be just like, basically just like your regular router, right? Works good in your house. Maybe you start to drop it at like the edges of your yard or your neighbor's house. But when Halo comes in, they actually were able to link up to each other miles and miles away.
When short-range Wi-Fi can't reach, Halo links your nodes to other nodes, and with clear line of sight, it can stretch several miles. That's the backbone that ties the whole mesh together. And here's the part most people miss. Once you have your radio, you don't really need special gear to use it. You just connect your phone over Wi-Fi the same way you'd connect on an airplane network. No SIM cards, no carrier, no big tech permission slip. And once you're in, you can run apps like ATAC, which automatically discovers other nodes, push-to-talk radios, chat relays, and if one node has an uplink, say Starlink, literally any other internet app can be used. And because these nodes
So as long as one of these nodes, all you need is line of sight and you can go miles away. And as long as one of them's connected to the internet, they're all connected to the internet.
run on 802.11s mesh, every node that joins strengthens and extends the network. Add more nodes and the coverage grows. Picture a convoy of trucks on an off-road trail, each carrying a node. Now the whole team has comms, live positioning, even internet with no towers, no ISP, and no monthly bill. That's a mainnet. Everything I'm showing here, gear setup, config, it's all in a field manual I put together linked below. I'm calling
ATAC is what the military fields. It is, Android Team Awareness Kits,
it the Haven IP Mesh Radio. It's an open source alternative to radios like the MPU-5.
which is fucking insane. Like, you had maps and Blue Force trackers and enemy trackers, and you could get drone footage downloads and target packages, and all from a cell phone-like device. It was like this ruggedized but it would look like a cell phone.
Except instead of
And it ran Android.
$20 and a procurement officer, you just need a Raspberry Pi and some grit. Now, I've had this guide live for about a week and people are already building with it. But starting today for the next 30 orders, I'm including a bonus 30-minute one-on-one call with me to go over your setup, answer questions, or just talk shop. I'm capping.
I guess you can just buy one now, it seems. Hold on. Yeah, $100. Haven Manet's IP Mesh Radio Digital Guide. Oh, it's the digital guide. I guess you still got to build your own. What you'll learn: how to build $8,000 military grade Manet for $106 using off-the-shelf parts, no subscriptions. The exact config I use to hit 15 megabits per second symmetrical throughput. The secret sauce of 802.11 mesh network. So it's $100 for a guide to build it. Off-grid builders, ATAC, and field operators, neighborhood defenders want to back up a network for your block, family, or crew when Comcast or Verizon go dark. We literally could have used this in a storm. We could have went to where, instead of Starlink, right, we could have went to where someone's cell phone had service and linked 2 or 3 of them to get back line of sight. It might have only taken 1 or 2 and had an internet access point at everybody that was there could have had internet. DIY junkies, privacy hawks, finally your own network yourself without big tech clouds or lock-ins. Preppers and freedom first families build a resilient independent comm system for uncertain times. Entrepreneurs and innovators spot the opportunity, productize it, and create a new wave of open source gear. It's pretty cool. It looks even better in this little case, but it's a pretty cool package. And you don't need, I mean, those batteries would probably last a long ass time in that configuration.
This at 30 because I literally can't take more calls without melting my calendar. So if you're watching this and the link's still active, jump in. And super quick, if you like the tech but don't want to build it out yourself, Trey over at Murrow's X is building these to order. These are IP
So there's somebody who builds them to order, but they're $1,200.
mesh radios, very similar to what we're talking about here. And he's super knowledgeable, and the design is, I mean, you just can't beat this design. It's incredible. So now that we've got our 2 nodes set up, we're going to want to see what kind of data rate and bandwidth we can get. So Halo supports different channel widths, very similar to spreading factor with Meshtastic, which you can choose right in the OpenWRT UI. All right, so I do want to run you through the anatomy of this thing pretty quickly here. So it's pretty kind of modular in the sense that like any component of this you could probably swap out for something else, but I'll run you through what I have here. So the motherboard here is a Raspberry Pi 4. We use the 4, not the 5.
None of this build would be bad. I think getting it all to work together without his guide would probably suck.
The OpenWRT firmware doesn't quite work on the 5 yet. As soon as it does, we'll start using the 5 because the 5 is more powerful, frankly. And then we have a hat for a mini PCIe.
I have a couple Raspberry 5s laying over there.
Card. And the PCIe card, or the mini PCIe card that we want to use here, is what introduces the Halo chip. This thing's not expensive. It's about $15 for the card there, and then it's maybe like $20 for the hat. And so we add that on to the Raspberry Pi. You can use any sort of antenna that is sub-gigahertz. Right now I'm just playing around with this big fancy antenna, but frankly, you can get away with antennas like this. You can get away with whip antennas. Any of your Meshtastic antennas will work because they're in the same range. And then it just uses an SMA to U.FL connector here, so you can really do that however you want. And then for power, just to make it mobile,
You could technically, since Android support Wi-Fi calling and text, and you don't actually need service, you could set this up around where you go, and you wouldn't even need a cell phone provider anymore.
I'm using this Wave Share hat that actually relies on pogo pins. You can see them right there. So you just put it on top, and then you put these batteries in. These are 21700s. Each one is 5,000 milliamperes, so a total of 10,000 milliamperes capacity, which is pretty solid actually. And you really don't have to move this around. If you want to charge it, you just plug in the USB-C. But then you have your kind of self-contained unit here. And then the only other component. So this is a Wi-Fi dongle. This brings 2.4 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi to the setup. Technically, the Raspberry Pi can support that on board, but it can't do Halo with that, unfortunately. So as kind of an intermediary solution, we could use something like this. In the future, I want to use a proper hat with a real Wi-Fi chip. Like this is an Intel chip, and you could put like real 2.4 and 5 gigahertz antennas, and it could be a lot cleaner of a setup. Frankly, it's such early days that I don't even have like a proper case for this. The individual who's working on Open Mainnet is working on a 3D printing design case, so we could use that, or you can kind of just get creative with what you want. But that's the basic setup of this thing. So we're not talking a whole lot of money to get this thing up and running. So I'm actually getting Wi-Fi out here, but it's not coming across the standard Wi-Fi connection. It's coming across Ethernet, and it's coming across the 915 megahertz antenna. You can see it's pretty slow, but it is loading, and really we just wanted to do some tests, so we'll run.
It's functional either way.
Those tests. Okay, so I'm watching one of my own YouTube videos, and I'm doing it by way of this 915 megahertz sub-gigahertz antenna that is connected to a Halo chip on a Raspberry Pi, and then going into my laptop over Ethernet. But what's interesting is the router that this is connecting to is actually way up there. And is able to pass my home wireless connection to this device because it's using the Halo antenna with a 1 megahertz channel.
That's pretty crazy. You have to admit.
It can go super far.
I mean, it's not like everybody needs one of these and they're going to blow up and everybody's going to be carrying one in their pocket. But if you needed this doesn't exist at this price range, right? You're talking thousands of dollars.
Here's what I achieved with my performance tests. At 8 megahertz, I measured about 15 megabits per second.
And a lot of the places that make things like this, you can't just buy it without having a company buy it for you, right? You need to have a company's name and some type of fucking procurement officer. I don't know why I couldn't say it. And somebody to call in, and you have to get quotes. They have to come out. You have to talk to a salesman. Like, it's insane.
both up and down, which is right on the theoretical ceiling for Wi-Fi Halo at that channel width. At 4 megahertz, throughput landed at 7.3 megabits, again matching the expected max. At 2 megahertz, I actually clocked 4.4 megabits, just a hair above textbook 3.9, well within margin for how I prefer for ports traffic. And at the narrowest 1 megahertz channel, I got 1.8 megabits, which lines up almost exactly with the 1.95 megabits theoretical limit. Out of the box, these Halo radios ship at about 21 dBm. That's roughly 125 milliwatts. Pretty modest, not much more than a home router. But with the open mainnet firmware, which is the open source package that this is based on, that ceiling gets raised to 27 dBm, which is around 500 milliwatts. That's almost 4 times the wattage, which makes a huge difference in link stability and range. And just for context, the legal limit for unlicensed 900 megahertz gear in the US is 30 dBm, which is the equivalent of 1 full watt. That's the absolute max you can transmit without a special license. So at 27 dBm, we're
Legally, right? But no one's running around checking this. Like, this is the same thing with like my drone. Like 1 watt is the maximum you're supposed to broadcast at for drone controls, but people that are running 2.5 fucking watts and shit. Like, who's running around checking this shit?
sitting right near the top of what's possible for a civilian build, just shy of the legal ceiling. You get the benefits of serious range and resilience while staying inside the regulatory box. Now, one quick myth buster. Bandwidth isn't set by the antenna. It's set by the modulation and channel width in the radio. But the antenna does matter for range. A higher gain antenna can focus the signal, letting you hold a link further out or punch through interference. So swapping antennas won't make your network faster, but it can make it go a whole lot farther. And OpenWRT gives you a full suite of diagnostic throughput testing, range tests, and live packet stats. So the takeaway is simple. In real-world conditions, my test basically hit the ceiling of what 802.11h can do. Wide channels gives you max bandwidth, narrow channels stretch your range. So now what can we do with this? So that's where it gets interesting. The most obvious application that comes to mind is ATAC, which is Android Tactical Awareness Kit, which is used by the military and domestic search and rescue teams for operatives which require several team members staying connected in highly dynamic situations. Now, there's a number of different ways to leverage ATAC, but with this setup, I was able to get the devices connected from mainnet 1 to mainnet 2 without using
one person could be connected. Everybody else could have this on their kit. And because they're bringing their own network with them, it's going to be secure. When the mission's over, the guy just shuts down the network.
Any sort of fancy TAC servers. There was a little bit of finessing on the network layer, and if you're trying to get that working, just don't think you're not going to learn about subnetting in the process. But I can provide some of those details in my guide, and I was able to send ATAC messages from a device connected to mainnet 1 over Halo to a device connected to mainnet 2. I was also able to do a couple other fancy things like drop images onto the map and share those between nodes. And I was able to do that using something called multicasting, which is essentially making use of the Wi-Fi network to send those communications, but there was no sort of centralized remote or even local TAC server. So it sends it directly from device to device by IP address on the network. And I gotta say, I really like that setup because everything is confined within your private network and you're able to push communications to each other, track nodes on a map, and have those sort of off-grid comms that you usually only normally get with a satellite connection. But what about voice and push to talk? So I actually set up Mumble on both of the devices, and I didn't go too crazy with it. I used a remote Mumble server, but I was easily able to push voice from node to node using one of those public servers. Now, you would never actually want to do that. You would want to set up a Mumble server on one of your Raspberry Pis, but that should be easy enough. And the latency was pretty low, and the quality was pretty high.
DSU.
But anyways, this is push to talk. It works just fine. It's using one of the uplinks connecting to a remote server on the web, but the signal is still going from mainnet node number 1 to mainnet node number 2, and they're only connected.
You have a set of headphones and a mic plugged in, and now you got comms too.
Wi-Fi Halo, so you could go long range with it, and you can see the clarity and the latency is more than adequate. Next is video feeds. So I didn't go too crazy with it, but again, I was able to set up a video stream from a device that was also on the network, which is this Chow here. This was actually also using Halo. You don't necessarily have to use Halo. You could use something like IP cameras, or you could set up a stream on a laptop or a drone or something like that. But as long as it's using a standard, either UDP, RTSP, HTTP, one of those live video streams in a standard protocol, you can pull it
cool.
your ATAC device, provided it's on the same network. Okay, and then the big test was going to a remote off-grid area, so I went down to Crandon Park, which is basically a key off of Miami. Now, I had both of my main nets, but I also had something else, an uplink. So I just purchased a Dishy, which is a standard Starlink, and I plugged that into node number 1, which means that my whole network had internet. But just how far could I push it? So I took node number 2 out for a stroll, and we just kept going, periodically checking the connection. Okay, so now we're trying to get the Halo mainnet plugged into the Starlink router, and this will be node number 1. So we have the Halo chip with the Halo antenna, which is going up here, and it's using the Starlink Wi-Fi router. So that should just bring Halo to this Starlink network here. All right, so we're trying to get Starlink online here. Looks like it might work. I had to use a Life P04 battery with a special, I don't know, sort of like regulator, governor of some type. And then the Starlink itself is right up here. because I'm not using a Starlink Mini, I'm actually using the standard one because it gets better throughput, but it's a little bit harder to power. But I think this is going to work. It looks like the app is still thinking about it right now, determining alignment, adjustment may be necessary. So looks like it might work though, so we'll see. Okay, so it says we're online, so that actually wasn't too painful.
Whenever I build my compound, it's going to have the best internet system.
Let's see real quick what we're getting in the way of speed tests, right? So let's go run one of these. All right, so not too bad, I'll take it. So 22 down, 3 up, but it looks like the software is still updating, so we'll see if perhaps that gets improved. Okay, I'm going to give you a little rundown of everything we have going on here. So this is going to be a test of our mainnet. So mobile ad hoc network node number 1, mobile ad hoc network node number 2, primarily talking over Wi-Fi Halo. But I also wanted to bring an uplink to the party. So let me go ahead and show you what we have in terms of the configuration here. So down here, you're going to see So down here, you see the Raspberry Pi. This is our Wi-Fi Halo board. This is the mainnet, essentially, right? It's Ethernetted into the Starlink router. I'm doing some crazy stuff with batteries because this is not a Starlink Mini. This is a Starlink Standard. So, but it seems to be working, and it didn't give me too much trouble. So in terms of the Wi-Fi Halo antenna, that is right here. This is magnetized, so I can just pop it on like that. Our dishy is right there, and the uplink works, has internet connection. It's not super fast right now, but I'll worry about that later. So now what I'm going to try to do is get the second mainnet going and see how far I can push it, because we have a lot of space here. So that's my objective right now. Okay, so we actually have everything working now. This right here is node number 2. I have the mainnet right there, and I'm running Ethernet into my computer, and we can see that we have internet, even though my computer's not on Wi-Fi. So we have about 14, 15 down, which tracks perfectly because the internet's coming over Wi-Fi Halo at an 8 megahertz width, and the theoretical max for that is like 17 megabits per second, and it's got the same down, so symmetric link. So everything's actually working. Now, normally you would connect your mainnet to your end user devices, like your ATAC devices. You would connect that over Wi-Fi, but that's just an extra step that I didn't want to get into right now because I'm still awaiting that piece. That's just a little Wi-Fi dongle. So you would just keep your radio on you, and then you'd have a local Wi-Fi network, and then Halo for the long distance stuff. But the question is now, how far can we still get a signal, right? And at what data lengths? And so I'm going to give that a shot. Okay, so I have my little radio station here. I'm on the move here. I just did a test. This is node number 2, and I got 6 megabits per second down and 14 megabits per second up. And the second node is that white car way over there. But I was watching YouTube. I'm watching YouTube because of the sub-gigahertz Wi-Fi Halo radio. So now we're going to go even further. Okay, so we're right here. This is our mainnet here. We're way further out. Probably come up a mile maybe. And we're still getting internet here, although it was beginning to break down a little bit. Let's see if we can do a speed test. Whoa.
Are we falling over?
All right, so now not even quite hitting a megabit per second, but close to a megabit down. Let's see what we get for up. For some reason, the uplink is better. And a couple megabits per second is still quite a bit to work with in terms of voice, low rate video, stuff like that. So I'd actually be curious if we can get any significant video here. So I'm gonna put this in one of my hands, which I really don't have a free hand here. And we're gonna go back to YouTube. Let's see here. See if anything comes through. This microchip can extend your Wi-Fi.
That's crazy.
10 months. So we're watching YouTube videos using the 915 antenna, and my Starlink is way out there. So we're in a remote area, we're near a beach, we have no fiber or anything like that. We just have a Starlink. I'm about a mile away, and we're still watching YouTube videos. Call me.
That's pretty cool.
And now we've got proof that this little box can keep up with the big boys. So at 2,000 feet, I was getting shy of 1 megabit per second down and almost 3 megabits per second up, which interestingly was enough for me to continue watching YouTube, which just felt surreal. I was 2,000 feet away from my Starlink and still able to watch YouTube, all due to Wi-Fi Halo. Now, to be clear, this is the civvy version. It's absolutely usable in the field, but it's not military spec. It's not guaranteed to survive a Humvee rollover or keep sinking after a week in the desert. Think of it as the civilian alternative, open source, flexible, and cheap enough to actually build yourself. Also, I'm not here to push more screens into more places, but I've been out where phones die and help's not coming. And that's where tools like this might have a place. And if the tech encourages people to get outside and explore, then I support that too. Now, I know what you're all thinking, what about security? But rest assured, Halo radios use WPA3-SAE, the same encryption handshake you'll find on modern enterprise Wi-Fi. It's strong, it's proven, and yes, everything running on this mesh is locked down. So this isn't some open Wild West signal that anyone can hijack. It's encrypted end-to-end, just like you'd expect. Now, you might be thinking, this looks like LoRa.
It's a pretty cool project. This is from Data Slayer's YouTube channel. Go check him out.
Or or Meshtastic, but here's the difference. LoRa is brilliant for ultra-low bandwidth over long range with very low power draw. It's perfect for text and GPS pings, but it tops out at kilobits per second. It's like walkie-talkie, but for data. Wi-Fi Halo, on the other hand, runs in the megabits per second range. That's the difference between just sending a ping and streaming a video feed. And the big kicker is Halo supports full IP networking. This isn't a custom packet form, it's real internet. You can run ATAC, push-to-talk apps, webcams, even route traffic straight through Starlink. It's literally plug-and-play networking, just stretched for range. So if Meshtastic is your digital walkie-talkie, Halo is your portable router for the middle of nowhere. Look at me. I am
All right, I want to see what this is.
I'm going to try my very best.
Check out Data
not to
Slayer.
get extremely upset while talking about this story. But Tucker Carlson is an extremely sick person, and so that's going to make it very difficult.
Uh-oh.
As you know, I just returned and have been honestly
Resting crying face.
struggling to process and kind of get back to normal since the front lines in Ukraine. I was in Kyiv too.
He went to Ukraine. I'll give him that. That's more than a lot of people do.
I spent time as close as we could possibly get to where the fighting is actually happening. You see there, I was with soldiers, civilians, hearing the attacks happening. And Tucker Carlson, on one of his recent shows, said something that I was having a really good morning, and I was bobbing along. I was finally kind of feeling a little bit rested, and I saw this, and it really ruined the day. How angry it made me. So listen to what he says about Putin, and then I'll address it.
Putin invaded further into Ukraine. The world order collapsed. Clarity thing is a clear. If you think that Joe Biden was a better leader or a better man than Vladimir Putin, like, I don't even know what to say to you. That's insane. There's by no measure, did Joe Biden's country, the people he solemnly swore to help and defend, did they thrive? No, they withered. Putin, who's been there for 25 years, his country's improved. The people are happier. They like him, actually.
The war's been a little tough on Putin.
The war's, of course, it's been tough. Of course, it's been tough.
I'd be curious about public opinion today, this far into the war.
Well, actually, it's measured a lot. Yeah, look it up. And you can say, oh, that's all a lie. Okay, well, show me one.
Yeah.
Okay, go there. And look, I'm not moving to Russia, but I mean, Putin has been the most effective leader in my lifetime. I can't think of a more effective one.
He's been a very stable leader for Russia.
But why is he more evil than Joe Biden?
Well,
I can't even conceptualize that. Like,
you could say, look, I don't know his religious.
You guys remember
He's
Tucker's press tour of Russia, right?
promoted Christianity within Russia
Aggressively.
yes, to combat liberalism and all these other forces. Joe Biden has imprisoned pro-lifers and sued not.
well, exactly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But whatever.
But I guess the reason that I
Okay, I'll get to in a second here my offer to Tucker. I have an offer. But let's address what he said. I guess the question he's asking, and any time that he knows he can't defend what he's saying, he does that. I don't know, whatever. He throws out the most outrageous claim you could possibly imagine and then follows it with, but you know what, that's irrelevant. But here's a Guardian headline from a while ago. 1 million and counting Russian casualties hit milestone in Ukraine war. And even before I get into some specifics of what I witnessed and other documented actions taken by the Russian military, just the claim he's making about Russia and about the goodness of Putin, saying that he can't even comprehend,
And no one cares.
plausibly argue that Joe Biden is a better man than Putin, which we don't even need to address the Biden part of it. What he's trying to say is Putin's not that bad. Putin might be a kind of good guy. And in saying that, he's erasing completely. He doesn't even bring it up. Michael Knowles does temporarily, doesn't even bring it up. The carnage that Putin is bringing upon Ukrainians and his people. As you saw with that headline, he's thrown hundreds of thousands of Russians. If we're just taking the Tucker point of view, which is the Russian, he's good for Russia. Tucker's then saying he doesn't care about just for this deranged power grab, unnecessary, unprovoked invasion. He's thrown hundreds of thousands of lives of his own people at it. And Tucker doesn't care about that. But apparently, this weak, flaccid, ED-addled coward doesn't care about what we're about to go through. And it really does, to the point of struggling to do this segment after what I just witnessed, makes me not just angry, but kind of lost, like in my hope for humanity, that guy would have such a large audience. This sort of pampered, pudgy, silver spoon in his mouth since day one has no ability to comprehend what it's like for Ukrainians to fight for the country. Tucker could never fight or risk his life for anything. He doesn't even know what it's like to believe in something other than himself that much.
Well, bow
He
ties.
couldn't argue any of what he just said substantively. He can just throw it out with a friendly co-host and go, "Ugh." So first of all, he lies about this a lot. Russians' quality of life is far worse than Americans. He's a researcher. He can research that if he'd like. He's really uneducated on a lot of this, including that, which is disturbing. But then I want to hear him try to explain. 1 million casualties, hundreds of thousands of dead Ukrainians in an offensive illegal war of expansion. And yes, Russians, who Tucker says he's so great for. You have the general bloodshed of the war that Putin is responsible for. Explain how Biden, I don't want to pull him back into this, but because he used that comparison, explain Biden's comparable actions here. But then let's get more specific. And I'm uncomfortable doing this because I think sometimes the carnage conversations can go a little bit far, but I think it's necessary. When Russians occupied towns in Ukraine, you had them massacring soldiers and civilians alike in mass executions, many with their hands tied so they were completely unable to fight back. Children executed, mass executions, women raped.
War crime after war crime after war crime.
People alive. This is what Putin's regime does. Mutilations. Again, many times when people are tied up, can't resist. Not collateral damage. It's not the tragedy of war because, we did the wrong. This is systematic killing, documented systematic killing of Ukrainians. Because, as Ukrainian soldiers told me, as civilians told me while I was there, the Russian government sees Ukrainians, thus the Russian soldiers, as subhuman, like animals, and they treat them as such. You have torture of Ukrainians, electrocution of their genitals, suffocation using gas masks in Bucha, Kherson, Mariupol, etc. What were described as organized mass killings and torture chambers, which were used by the Russian military to just obliterate human lives. I was brought personally to a town and explained in vivid detail a torture that happened. And I don't think it's even necessary to disturb people, but involving a car that I was at the site of, where it happened, that has literally not stopped flashing in my head and made it difficult to sleep. And that's what they do to people, to civilians. 2 men were castrated in front of other prisoners. A victim was physically carved and brutally tortured before execution. I personally, as I was leaving the front lines driving back to Kyiv, this big city, this vibrant city of Kyiv, witnessed, as you see there on screen, a missile, a part of numerous missiles and drones that bombarded the city mere blocks away from where we were, and then we were the first people to show up on the scene. I watched bodies being dragged out. All of this, not because Putin was provoked or this is, it's such a devastating part of what had to happen because of a totally unprovoked offensive power grab, resource grab, territory grab, because of his delusional and disgusting belief about bringing back an empire. The town I was in while I was in it, everyone's being hunted, and everyone's aware of that. They know there's no distinguishment between me, a journalist, or a soldier, or a child, or a mother. And we watched and listened as all the people I just mentioned were massacred by Putin's military. Now let me play for you while we're talking about this. A message, I asked a Ukrainian soldier what his message to Americans was.
I'm on the front lines in Ukraine, and I asked a Ukrainian soldier what his message to America was. Take a listen.
What can I say? Putin is a lying pig, and I'm sure he is being misinformed as well. And believing him is a mistake. And Donald Trump has to understand this. No matter what he says, how good he is and so on, he still edges closer and wants to take as much as possible. You give him one thing, he'll take another. You understand? He won't stop. 20 years in power, he's simply lost his mind. He thinks he can get away with anything. We must fight.
He knows people who have been, these are the people he's fighting for, dragged out of their homes and executed just for being Ukrainian. Russia invaded a sovereign country and then just started mass slaughtering people because of Putin's expansionist ambition. And that, to Tucker, is the sign of a good man. Here is a 14 to 15-year-old, a child, telling me his message to Americans.
They could share one message with Americans. What would it be?
Enjoy life, and thank you for all the help you are providing us. We hope you never experience anything like this and live in peace and tranquility.
This kid, who again, 14, do you remember if it was in the video? 14, I think 14 or 13 or 15, in that range. Can't drive yet. I don't know what the driving laws are actually there, but excessively young. Where we're sitting is moments away from where the Russians are. But he has nowhere to go. And he wants to stay with his family. Putin is willing to just slaughter people like that kid. And what is his message to us? Be happy. I hope this never happens to you. That was the girl he was standing next to. Her only message was, I really hope my relatives are okay. We met numerous people who had family in Russian occupied territory, and we're just hoping the Ukrainians could push the Russians back so they could see their family again, not knowing what they're doing to their family. But that kid's response of, thank you for your support, and I just hope you're happy. And then, imagine what Russia could be if Putin would stop with this. The justified economic backlash Russia receives because of these constant invasions and constant violations of their neighbors' sovereignty. If you removed that, if they stopped with that, thus could kind of participate normally in the global economy, they would be in a much better place. So many Russians live in horrendous conditions. While Tucker's correct, many of them do support Putin for a bunch of reasons. One of them being extensive propaganda, and then also just deep ideology that's disturbing. But they are being hurt a ton by the actions of Putin. So, my offer for Tucker. I said after I left that I'd definitely go back to Kyiv again. I don't see myself, at least in the near future, going back to the front lines. A part of what I was so struck by was that after I left, I thought I can never do that again. That was too horrendously terrifying. I was too scared for my life the entire time. I couldn't handle that constant feeling of hearing the killing of other people around me. And all the soldiers and civilians who are staying in their home and fighting are able to and are choosing to, not really a choice in some cases to them, because it's a fight for their life. But they're dealing with that every day. I dealt with it for 2 days, and you're hearing me explain how I left and I can't do it again. And they've been doing it and are going to keep doing it as long as it takes to protect their home. But despite me not wanting to, I will go back to the front lines, Tucker, if you'll go with me. You clearly have some strong thoughts about this, where you think Putin's a great guy, despite what he's doing, causing hundreds of thousands of deaths, slaughtering of men, women, and children, horrific torturing. You think he's a good guy. So let's go witness what it is that he's doing together. Come join me on another trip and see how you feel. I'm serious. If he takes me up on this, I'll actually do it. Not that you need this, because you clearly are a very rich guy, but I'll pay for it. Otherwise, fuck off. You're a pitiful, soulless, small, cushy man with a cushy, weak life. And you don't have in your entire body the courage that Ukrainians have in their fingernail. So if you're such a tough guy who can talk from afar in your nice studio in your safe life, then join me and go witness the horrors of what you are so comfortable talking about. Offer stands. Okay, now, in the same interview, a big mood shift, but I don't know where else we're going to talk about this, so because it was very stressful, let's bring ourselves to a very different mood. What else did he talk about in this? He said about a mass murderer. That guy's not as bad as Biden. Let's see what else he had to talk about.
Beating up Harvard, I think, was a brilliant political attack. You see some of that in Florida, taking in some of the universities. It's happening around the country. I'll give you Pete Buttigieg. I don't know Pete Buttigieg. The fake gay guy? I have a friend who thinks he's a fake gay.
My gay producer was always like, he's not gay. He was with a girl like 20 minutes ago, and like, he wants to be the Democratic nominee. It's like, time for a gay guy.
He's playing the long game. I mean, that's going down. Look.
Well, it's suffering for your art. I'll say that.
Look, just because I don't know him, I know 100 Pete Buttigiegs. I know this character.
Oh, I do too.
And he went to the elite school, and then he goes to McKinsey, and then he does the checks.
Did you see Tucker? Oh, I do too. Oh, I know 100 Pete Buttigiegs.
And I think I can find some benighted Midwestern town that he can just like become mayor of.
I'm mayor now. Talking to I was talking to a big Democrat figure, and he said, say what you will about Pete. He's the greatest careerist we've ever seen. You're mayor of this tiny town. You become the Secretary of Transportation.
No, but of course, but the town, it kind of sucks. Actually, he didn't do a good job. He didn't have the college there. But I've always wanted to interview him. He's never agreed to interview, but I'm going to ask him some very specific questions about gay sex and see if he can even answer. I doubt he even knows.
Where does?
Yeah, no, totally.
I'm not
gay, dude.
What do you mean, where does? Finish that sentence, Michael. Where does what? Where does the penis go? I think it's pretty self-explanatory, bub. In the other penis.
I doubt he even knows.
Where does?
Yeah, no, totally.
I'm not gay, dude.
That was kind of funny.
Think about Pete Buttigieg. If we controlled the universities, if we controlled the culture.
So Tucker, after praising Putin, then his next thought is, hey, I want to ask Pete Buttigieg hyper-specific questions about gay sex. Tucker is really weird with how many people he pontificates. He did with Tim Waltz. He was like, oh, he's definitely, oh yeah, he's gay. He's 100%. Like, he has the best gaydar in the game. And I love how he cited Pete Buttigieg. We've played it before, but if you hear Pete's story, he went to serve his country, and when he got back, he thought to himself, or I think it was while he was serving, he was thinking, what if I died here and never got to actually experience love? That was the quote. And so when he got back, he ended up coming out and finding Justin. And but obviously Tucker doesn't really care about the truth of that, but it's just strange how much he thinks about gay sex, I guess. All right, I had something else, but I can't handle any more of Tucker. There it is, a disgusting human being who I will go on a trip with if you'll take me up on it. Otherwise, he is a coward and a bitch.
You did call him out at least, so there you go. Okay. Let's do a thought experiment here. Let's pretend that we are hauling contraband. Okay? Something that's illegal in the place where we're at and the place we're going to. Okay? And we're hauling it in a boat. What would be some characteristics of this boat, right? It'd probably be easy to move through the water. It'd probably be a dark color. I don't know if it doesn't have to be super maneuverable as long as it can go pretty much in a straight line quickly. We're going to want to haul as much contraband as possible. So we need a payload big enough without making it overtly stand out. And we're probably going to want not a whole lot of crew or passengers, right? Because we need the room for drugs. Maybe a dark color, a good captain, somebody that knows what they're doing and where they're going and exactly how to get there without navigation lights and shit like that. None of this makes sense. Not a single piece of this makes sense with the story that the Trump administration is saying about the drug dealers. Hold on. The drug boat that the Navy engaged. Why would a drug boat have 11 fucking people on it? Why would you have so many people? We see these drug boats all the time with 1 or 2 people. Why the fuck would it have 11 fucking people on it?
After days of speculation about his health, the president showed up for a much-anticipated press conference.
Almost all people. Like, I don't understand. It seems more like we blew up a boat, called it a drug boat, and it was refugees or immigrants or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yesterday to make some big announcement. He was moving a military command from Colorado to Alabama. But amidst the usual Trump chaos, he made another announcement that got kind of lost about a military strike in international waters.
We just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we took it out.
The president later posted a video of that strike to social media. Trump said he had ordered, quote, a kinetic strike against positively identified Tren de Aragua narco-terrorists. He had.
So why do we think they did it? I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. Why are we just now finding out that a mission in North Korea where they killed all the fucking people on the fishing vessel, the Navy SEALs did, and Trump kept it quiet? Right there. So if you don't know about the North Korean messaging that just came out, was one of our nuclear subs deployed 2 SEAL teams in their, if you've ever seen their version of submarines, like the SEAL man-powered submarine, basically they're wearing scuba gear, it fills full of water, and they're out there fucking pedaling this shit. It's like a silent submarine. It holds a few Navy SEALs in each one. So they deploy, they're going to the coast of North Korea. Their mission is to get inside somewhere where Kim Jong-un would be and plant a listening device. They never make it there. As soon as they surface, or before they even surface, they almost immediately caught by a vessel. They figure it is, North Korean military. It is not. They say that the sailors were shouting and shining lights down in the water. They pop up, kill everybody on the fucking boat. Come to find out, it was just a bunch of fishermen. And they're like, "What the fuck's in the water?" Like that. That's insane. They killed everybody and left. Called the mission a wash and just fucking left. Once they got on the boat, they realized that it was just a bunch of fishermen. There were no soldiers. There were no weapons. There were no uniforms. There were no... shit's crazy.
Added that 11 people on the boat were killed. Trump claimed the boat was transporting illegal narcotics heading to the United States. Now, here's a map of where the United States is. That small boat...
By the way, I'm not even saying they won't find some type of drug on that boat. But was that its like? Are we going to find out that someone had drugs in their pocket?
Subscribed for 35 months.
Oh shit! Almost 3 years. Thank you very much, Kippy Bacon. Are we going to find out somebody had some pot in one of their pockets? They're like, "Oh, that's a drug boat." Like its goal better have been to ship. If you're telling us it's a drug boat, its goal better have been to ship large quantities of fucking drugs here for resale. Not, well, one of the women that was bringing her children had 2 joints in the fucking sweatband of her hat. You know what I mean?
Was attacked off the coast of Venezuela, which is over 1,000 nautical miles away from here. The United States was obviously well out of range of that boat. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, on the other hand, defended.
It was attacked off the coast of Venezuela. That doesn't even make sense. How the fuck do we know they were coming here? Right. We typically don't just kill drug traffickers like this. Have you guys not ever seen this super, super famous video of the Coast Guard where they catch that high-speed drug boat? There's only 1 or 2 guys on it, and they take from a helicopter with a boat going up and down. They take a precision sniper rifle shot and blow the fucking engine out so they can round them up. And no, everybody dies for being on a drug boat. Like, none of this makes sense.
Ended the strike by saying,
who were these people? I want to know who they were. Coming from allegedly from Venezuela. I'm assuming that's true. Did they know something? Did they have information? Like, we don't just fucking kill people and be like, oh, they were drug dealers. Even if that's true, why the fuck did we blow them up with the U.S. military?
Vessel's destination was probably Trinidad or another country in the Caribbean, which of course makes more sense on the map. I mean, Trinidad's only 10 miles from Venezuela by sea. But again, that too is.
Sometimes they can't catch them boats too fast. There is no boat faster than air support.
More than 1,000 miles from the U.S. mainland. Who knows where the drugs, if they were there? We're going to go next. This morning, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth was doing a victory lap, promising more military strikes on narco traffickers, narco terrorists. But now, as we learn more details of the attack, I have to say, this is an enormous scandal that is unfolding right in front of us. This civilian, non-military boat, even if they were committing a crime, was not struck in self-defense. No weapons were evident. Whoever struck it, and the U.S. has shared no details of that, didn't try to disable the engines or to board the craft. They just...
Yeah, disable the engines. Then they're just fucking setting there. Like, I don't understand. It's got outboard engines on it. We didn't tell them to stop. We didn't flash a light. We just ended their life from above.
Summarily killed everybody on board. As a Notre Dame law professor told the Washington Post, the strike violated international law. The U.S. is not in armed conflict with Venezuela or its criminal elements. This is exactly the kind of operation that, if it existed in a Tom Clancy novel or movie, would be getting covered up because all the principals in the film would know it was illegal. I mean, it certainly seems like
Trump comes out and brags about it. Imagine your fucking, I don't know, your fucking aunt's kids go out and buy some fucking pot or meth. Who gives a fuck, right? They go out and buy a bag of meth, and they're going to a party, and on the way to the party, they're struck by a Predator drone.
like extrajudicial murder to me. And again, that's the case even if everything the administration is saying is true. But why would anyone assume that what they say is true? These are the very same people that falsely claimed a man with an autism awareness tattoo and a makeup stylist and a soccer player and a singer were dangerous members of the same Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang when they grabbed them off
One guy got his autism awareness tattoo labeled as gang-related tattoo.
the street and shipped them to the Salvadoran gulag. Now, in those cases, Trump's government tried to be the judge and the jury, and now they are executioner too. Whatever pretext this administration may claim, this looks, for all the world, like a just flagrant violation of domestic U.S. law and international law. And there needs to be answers to how and why this happened. And I'll talk to Senator Chris Van Hollen about that next.
Yeah, I don't get it. Trump brags sometimes about, like, he'll say, like, over in China, they don't have drug dealers. You know why? Because they cut their hands off, but we don't. We don't. Like, it would have been one thing if we were trying to take out their motor and something happened and one of them was hit. It's another thing to drop high explosives on them. All of them. Sentenced to death. Like, I don't understand it.
I've been reporting about the military and special operations for more than a decade, and we received a tip about a mission that was so risky and frankly outlandish that I didn't even think it was real. The mission happened in 2019.
Even drug dealers are people, right? We can't just go kill people.
At the time, President Trump and Kim Jong-un were in the middle of high-level nuclear talks. The mission was to plant a listening device. That device could give the U.S. an edge in all of the negotiations, but it also came with substantial risks. The mission started with a nuclear submarine motoring into North Korean territorial waters. The nuclear sub stopped and released 2 mini-subs.
There's the mini subs. They're flooded, right? So they're wearing scuba gear. We've watched videos on it before if you watched the show for long enough, but they're flooded. The SEALs, they have a driver, and then I think they could take 3 SEALs to deploy, but somebody's got to stay with the craft in each one. So that would be 6 plus 2 drivers
that headed into the bay. In those mini-subs is a team of Navy SEALs. The Navy SEALs thought they'd be coming into a deserted shore, but there was a surprise. Nearby was a...
I don't understand why we didn't have air support to see heat signatures to tell the goddamn Navy SEALs, like, hey, you're popping up beside a fishing boat.
Small boat with a North Korean crew. The unseen North Korean boat came close to their mini-subs, and the crew on board started talking loudly and shining flashlights right down into the water where the subs were. If the subs were discovered, they'd have no way out, and so the SEALs that were at the shore fired on the North Korean boat and killed everybody that was on it. The SEALs on shore swam to the boat to make sure everybody was dead. When they got there, they didn't find any uniforms or weapons that suggested the people were security forces or military. In fact, everything there suggested that they were civilian fishermen who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The SEALs got out of the area unscathed, but it's hard to overstate the gravity.
At least I can understand a little bit more of this. Like, this is an act of war. North Korea would flip the fuck out, right? Like, we have SEALs on their fucking mainland. And, like, I can understand a reaction here more than I can the drug dealers.
Of what happened. The United States put troops on the ground in an unpredictable dictatorship with nuclear weapons, killed civilians, and took extreme strategic risks. This was just one mission, but people within the special operations world say it's part of a broader problem that has plagued special operations for decades. There's never any real outside scrutiny that lets the public and the nation as a whole look at what went wrong. Everything remains top secret.
Shit's fucking wild. Here's
On a frigid night under the cover of darkness, a group of U.S. Navy SEALs boarded a submarine like this one and quietly made their way to the shores of North Korea, unaware that their top secret mission was about to turn deadly, say 3 former U.S. officials familiar with the operation. The undisclosed 2019 mission, first reported by the New York Times, was intended to plant a listening device to spy on reclusive North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, according to the officials, who confirmed...
I'd like to know where they planned on, what was their target to get in and plant this listening device where? In a vehicle, in somewhere he was supposed to be the next week to have fucking tea at one of his buddies' house. I'd like to know where they were supposed to be going with this listening device.
The details of the plan to NBC News. They say the SEALs used 2 mini-subs to get as close to the shore as possible. Riding with open hatches, they used heated dive suits to protect from the freezing water. The SEALs swam the final stretch to shore. Their number 1 priority, move undetected. They cut all communication, and unlike most missions, they had no drones overhead to warn about possible dangers. So when the SEALs caught sight of a North Korean boat, they had no one to ask for permission and acted immediately, shooting everyone on board. Once they got to the boat, there were no weapons and no uniforms. The men appeared to be fishermen. The SEALs issued a distress call and left without planning the listening device, according to the officials. The mission, approved by President Trump, took place within days of his 2019 nuclear summit with Kim Jong-un. Today, the president denied any knowledge of the operation.
I'm hearing it now for the first time.
Maybe where the summit was going to be later.
Officials say it's not clear whether North Korea ever knew U.S. Navy SEALs were on their shores. The Pentagon declined to comment.
All right, Courtney joins us now live. And Courtney, there was also a major change at the Pentagon today following an executive order by President Trump.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. The president signing an executive order declaring the Department of Defense now has a secondary name, the Department of War. But within moments of signing, Pentagon officials already changing signs around the building, including one declaring Secretary Hegseth as the Secretary of War. Tom?
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
2019 reports. Group of Navy SEALs secretly entered North Korea in early 2019 to plan a device to intercept the communication of dictator Kim Jong-un, but ended up firing on unarmed civilians during diving for shellfish, puncturing their lungs to conceal their bodies and aborting the mission, according to a report. The top secret mission, reportedly authorized by President Trump during his first term, was carried out by SEAL Team 6's Red Squadron, the same unit that killed Osama bin Laden, the New York Times reported Friday. If successful, the mission could have delivered critical intelligence and delicate nuclear negotiations, amid delicate nuclear negotiations between Kim and Trump. The ally reported, based on interviews with 24 people, including civilian government officials, members of the first Trump administration, and current and former military personnel with knowledge of the mission. 24 people. The mission was so risky that it required Trump's direct approval. If SEALs were caught on North Korean soil, it could have sunk nuclear negotiations or led to hostage situation, the report claimed. I don't know anything about it. I could look, but I know nothing about it, Trump told reporters Friday when asked about the alleged mission. I don't know anything about it. I'm hearing about it now for the first time. The SEALs rehearsed the mission for months in freezing water and planned to deploy from a nuclear-powered U.S. submarine using 2 stealth mini-subs known as wet subs to reach the North Korean coast, the Times learned. Riding for hours in frigid 40 degrees seawater with scuba gear and heated suits, a team of about 8 SEALs could swim to the shore, plant devices, and stealthily escape without the help of overhead drones. In February 2019, with Trump set to meet Kim in Vietnam later that month, the green light was issued for the mission, and the plan commenced, the ally reported. But the mission quickly unraveled once SEALs were ashore. North Korean fishing boat unexpectedly appeared in the darkness with no way to communicate with the mission commander, and fearing imminent discovery, a senior enlisted SEAL opened fire with the other SEALs following suit, killing everybody on board, the ally reported. SEALs opened fire within seconds. Everyone on the North Korean boat was dead. The SEALs retreated into the sea without planting the listening device. The 2019 operation has never been publicly acknowledged or even hinted at by the United States or North Korea. The details remain classified and are being reported here for the first time. The Trump administration did not notify key members of Congress who oversee intelligence operations before or after the mission. The lack of notification may have violated the U.S. law. The White House declined to comment. This account is based on interviews with 24 people, including civilian government officials, members of the first Trump administration, and current and former military personnel with knowledge of this mission. All of them spoke on the condition of anonymity because of the mission's classified status. Several of those people said they were discussing details about the mission because they were concerned that special operations failures are often hidden by government secrecy. If the public and policymakers become aware only of higher profile successes, such as the raid that killed bin Laden in Pakistan, they may underestimate the extreme risks that American forces undertake. The military operation in North Korean soil, close to the American military bases in South Korea and the Pacific region, also risks setting off broader conflict with hostile nuclear-armed and highly militarized adversary. The New York Times proceeds cautiously when reporting on classified military operations. The Times has withheld some sensitive information on the North Korean mission that could affect future special operations and intelligence gathering missions. It is unclear how much North Korea was able to discover about the mission, but the SEAL operation is one chapter in a decades-long effort by the U.S. administration to engage North Korea and constrain its nuclear weapons program. Almost nothing the United States has tried, neither promises of closer relations nor the pressure of sanctions, has worked. In 2019, Mr. Trump was making a personalized overture to Mr. Kim in search of a breakthrough that had eluded prior presidents. But those talks collapsed, and North Korea's nuclear program accelerated. The U.S. government estimates that North Korea now has roughly 50 nuclear weapons and missiles that can reach the West Coast. Mr. Kim has pledged to keep expanding his nuclear program exponentially to deter what he calls U.S. provocations. The SEAL mission was intended to fix a strategic blind spot for years. U.S. intelligence agencies have found it nearly impossible to recruit human sources and tap communications in North Korea's insular authoritarian state. Gaining insight into Mr. Kim's thinking became a high priority when Mr. Trump first took office. The North Korean leader seemed increasingly unpredictable and dangerous, and his relationship with Mr. Trump had lurched erratically between letters of friendship and public threats of nuclear war. In 2018, relations seemed to be moving toward peace. North Korea suspended nuclear and missile tests, and two countries opened negotiations, but the United States still had little insight into Mr. Kim's intentions. Amid the uncertainty, U.S. intelligence agencies revealed to the White House that they had a fix for the intelligence problem, a newly developed electronic device that could intercept Mr. Kim's communications. The catch was someone had to sneak in and plant it. This job was given to SEAL Team 6 in 2018, military officials said. Even for Team 6, the mission would be extraordinarily difficult. SEALs, who are more used to quick raids in places like Afghanistan and Iraq, would have to survive for hours in frigid seas, slip past security forces on land, perform precise technical installation, and then get out undetected. Getting out undetected was vital. In Mr. Trump's first term, top leaders in the Pentagon believed that even a small military action against North Korea could provoke catastrophic retaliation from an adversary with roughly 8,000 artillery pieces and rocket launchers aimed at approximately 28,000 American troops in South Korea, and nuclear-capable missiles that could reach the United States. But the SEALs believed they could pull off the mission because they had done something like it before. In 2005, SEALs used mini-subs to go ashore in North Korea and leave unnoticed, according to people familiar with the mission. The 2005 operation, carried out during the presidency of George W. Bush, has never before been reported publicly. The SEALs were supposed to do it again in the fall of 2018, while high-level talks with North Korea were underway. Joint Special Operations Command, which oversees Team 6, received approval from Mr. Trump to start preparing, military officials said. It is unclear whether Mr. Trump's intent was to gain an immediate advantage during the negotiations or if the focus is broader. Joint Special Operations Command declined to comment. The plan called for the Navy to sneak nuclear-powered submarine nearly 2 football fields long into the waters off North Korea and then deploy a small team of SEALs and 2 mini-subs, each about the size of a killer whale, that would motor silently to shore. The mini-subs were wet subs, which meant the SEALs would ride immersed in the 40-degree ocean water for about 2 hours to reach the shore, using scuba gear and heated suits to survive. Near the beach, the mini-sub, I don't care, Komradsky, fucking leave. Holy shit. Near the beach, the mini-subs would release a group of about 8 SEALs who would swim to the target, install the device, and then slip back in the sea. But the team faced a serious limitation. It would be going in almost blind. Typically, Special Operations Forces have drones overhead during a mission, streaming high-definition video of the target, which SEALs on the ground and senior leaders in far-off command centers can use to direct the strike in real time. Often, they can even listen in on enemy communications. But in North Korea, any drone would have been spotted. The mission would have to rely on satellites in orbit and high-altitude spy planes in international airspace miles away that could provide only relatively low-definition still images, officials said. Those images would arrive not in real time, but after a delay of several minutes at best. Even then, they could not be relayed to the mini-subs because a single encrypted transmission might give the mission away. Everything had to be done under near blackout communication. If anything awaited the SEALs on shore, they might not know it until it's too late. SEAL Team 6 practiced for months in U.S. waters and continued preparation in the first week of 2019. In that February, Mr. Trump announced that he would meet Mr. Kim for a nuclear summit in Vietnam at the end of the month. For the mission, SEAL Team 6 partnered with the Navy's premier underwater team, SEAL Delivery. SEAL Delivery Vehicle Team 1, which had been doing mini-sub espionage for years. The SEALs boarded the nuclear-powered submarine and headed for North Korea. When the submarine was in the open ocean and about to enter a communication blackout, Mr. Trump gave the final go-ahead. It is unclear what factors Mr. Trump weighed when approving the SEAL mission. Two of his top national security officials at that time, his national security advisor, John Bolton, and the acting defense secretary, Patrick M. Shanahan, declined to comment for this article. The submarine neared the North Korean coast and launched 2 mini-subs, which motored to the spot about 100 yards from shore in clear, shallow water. Mission planners had tried to compensate for having no live overhead video by spending months watching how people came and went in the area. They studied fishing patterns and chose a time when boat traffic would be scant. The intelligence suggested that if SEALs arrived silently in the right location in the dead of night in winter, they would be unlikely to encounter anyone. That night was still and the sea was calm. As the mini-subs glided towards the target, their sensors suggested that intelligence was correct. The shore appeared to be empty. The mini-sub reached the spot where they were supposed to park on the sea floor. There, the team made what may have been the first of 3 small mistakes that seemed inconsequential at the time, but may have doomed the mission. In the darkness, the first mini-sub settled on the seafloor as planned, but the second overshot the mark and had to do a U-turn, officials said. The plan called for the mini-subs to park facing the same way, but after the second sub doubled back, they were pointing in opposite directions. Time was limited, so the group decided to release the shore team and correct the parking issues later. Sliding the doors on the subs open, and the SEALs, all gripping untraceable weapons loaded with untraceable ammunition, swam silently underwater to shore with the listening device. Every few yards, the SEALs would peek above the black water to scan their surroundings. Everything seemed clear. That might have been the second mistake. Bobbing in the darkness was a small boat. On board was a crew of North Koreans who were easy to miss because the sensors in the SEALs' night vision goggles were designed in part to detect heat, and the wetsuits the Koreans wore, because they were divers, were chilled by the cold seawater. Yeah, that wouldn't show up very well. The SEALs reached the shore thinking they were alone and started to remove their diving gear. The target was only a few hundred yards away. It has to be like a telecommunications building or a switch or something. Back at the mini-subs, the pilots repositioned the subs that were facing the wrong way, with the sliding cockpit doors open for more visibility and communication. A pilot revved the electric motor and brought the sub around. That was probably the third mistake. Some SEALs speculated afterwards in briefings that the motor's wake might have caused the attention of the North Korean boat. And if the boat crew heard a splash and turned to look, they might have seen light from the sub's open cockpits glowing in the dark water. The boat started moving towards the mini-subs. North Koreans were shining flashlights and talking as if they had noticed something. What is that? What is that underwater? Some of the mini-sub pilots told officials in debriefings afterwards that from their vantage point, looking up to the clear water, the boat still seemed to be safe distance away, and they had doubted that the mini-subs had been spotted. But the SEALs at the shore saw it differently. In the dark, featureless sea, the boat to them seemed to be practically on top of their mini-subs, their only way out. With communications blacked out, there was no way for the shore team to confer with the mini-subs. Lights from the boat swept over the water. The SEALs didn't know if they were seeing a security patrol on the hunt for them or a simple fishing crew oblivious to the high-stakes mission unfolding around them. A man from the North Korean boat splashed into the sea. If the shore team got in trouble, the nuclear-powered sub had a group of SEAL reinforcements standing by, QRF, with inflatable speedboats. Further offshore, stealth rotary aircraft were positioned on U.S. Navy ships with even more special operations troops ready to sweep in if needed. The SEALs faced a critical decision, but there was no way to discuss the next move. The mission commander was miles away on the big submarine. With no drones and communication blackout, many of the technological advantages that the SEALs normally relied on had been stripped away, leaving a handful of men in wet neoprene unsure of what to do. As the shore team watched the North Koreans in the water, the senior enlisted SEAL at the shore chose a course of action. He wordlessly centered his rifle and fired. The other SEALs instinctively did the same. If the SEALs were unsure whether the mission had been compromised before they fired, they had no doubt afterward. The plan to require the SEALs to abort immediately if they encountered anyone. North Korean security forces could be coming. There was no time to plant the device. The shore team swam to the boat to make sure that all the North Koreans were dead. They found no guns, no uniforms. Evidence suggested the crew, which people briefed on the mission said numbered 2 or 3 people, had been civilians diving for shellfish. All were dead, including the man in the water. Officials familiar with the mission said the SEALs pulled the bodies into the water to hide them from the North Korean authorities. One added that the SEALs punctured the boat's crew's lungs with knives to make sure their bodies would sink. The SEALs swam back to the mini-subs, sent a distress signal before leaving, believing the SEALs were in imminent danger of capture. The big nuclear submarine maneuvered in the shallow water close to the shore, taking a significant risk to even pick them up. It then sped towards open ocean. All U.S. military personnel escaped unharmed. Immediately afterward, U.S. spy satellites detected a surge of North Korean activity in the area, U.S. officials said. North Korea did not make any public statements about the deaths, and U.S. officials said it was unclear whether the North Koreans ever pieced together what happened or who was responsible. The nuclear summit in Vietnam went ahead as planned at the end of February 2019, but the talks quickly ended with no deal. By May, North Korea had resumed missile tests. Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim met once more in that June in the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. It made for dramatic television, with Mr. Trump even stepping across into North Korea, but the brief meeting yielded little more than a single handshake. In the months that followed, North Korea fired more missiles than in any previous year, including some capable of reaching the United States. Since then, the United States estimates North Korea has amassed 50 nuclear warheads and material to produce about 40 more. That's a goddamn intense story. That's crazy, dude. 24 people got together and just made it up, I guess. Fuck. Who the fuck is this guy? God damn, dude. What is this? This is Trump's Truth Social, I guess. I love the smell of deportations in the morning. Chicago about to find out why it's now called the Department of War. Chopocalypse now. Trump. Like, I understand it's a meme. Why is the president sharing? I could understand if everybody else was sharing it. Why is the president sharing it? Let's go make sure it's true. Holy fuck. Yep, it's real. Here it is. I just refreshed this page. That's the hat I was authorized to wear in my uniform. That's a Stetson. That's for Cav Scouts. This is Air Cav. That's what that movie's about. But
So this is something we thought long.
I hate this guy, dude.
Talking about
so much.
Pete and I and Dan. Dan came into the fold. By the way, a great general. He headed up the. I wouldn't call it an attack. I'd almost call that one maybe even more than an attack. What he did with Iran, you saw the success of that operation. It was perfect. In fact, this was sent to me by the great company that makes that particular B-2 bomber, and it was flawless. It was actually flawless. They flew for 37 hours back and forth, and there wasn't a bolt that was out of condition. There wasn't an engine failure. There was no problem. It was a perfect.
I would fucking expect so. Holy shit.
Attack, and it knocked out any possible nuclear capability for Iran, which nobody wanted to see and we weren't going to put up with. So great job, Dan. And we've been talking about.
Can you imagine going to your polling place now in the U.S. and there being fucking armed soldiers there to keep order?
this Department of War. So we won the First World War, we won the Second World War, we won everything before that and in between, and then we decided to go woke and we changed the name to Department of Defense. So we're going Department of War, and I'd like to ask our Secretary of War to say a few words. Pete Hegseth, I think it's a much more appropriate name, especially in light of where the world is right now. We have the strongest military in the world. We have the greatest equipment in the world. We have the greatest manufacturers of equipment by far. There's nobody to even...
The reason was literally to reshift focus from war to defense, right? It actually had an interim name, which was called the National Military Establishment, but that didn't last long. But it literally was changed to unify the different branches of the military under a single civilian secretary and shift focus from war to defense after World War II. We were sick of fucking wars.
Compete, and you see that with this and so many other things. The Patriots are the best. Every element of the military, we make the best by far.
I don't know. Just such stupid shit. Like that's a fucking problem in the world. Like what the fuck is, I don't know. What problems is he solving? He's not. All gas, no brakes. Trump issued a 200th executive order setting unprecedented pace in modern history. Trump approves UFC fight on White House lawn. Sometimes I feel like I've died. And this is my personal purgatory. Also, the absolute worst job numbers we've ever had, even after he fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS, the worst job numbers since I think 2021 or some shit. Like, it doesn't matter because he'll just say, look over here, here's a good number, and it's probably made up. Defense is woke. That's right. Defense wins championships.
We have the strongest military in the world. We have the
Oh, another meme video.
We have the strongest military in the world. We have the greatest equipment in the world. We have the greatest manufacturers of equipment by far.
This name change is not just about...
Yes, still bad numbers. They revised the last 2 months like they always do. And they came out with the August numbers. Bad.
Naming? It's about restoring. At your direction, Mr. President, the War Department...
Which probably adds to, hey, let's lower interest rates. The problem is inflation didn't come down the way they wanted it to either. So with inflation still higher than target and the job report looking poor, it's hard to say. Like if they lower interest rates, that's going to cause inflation to go up. And if the job market doesn't immediately correct, I don't know.
It's going to fight decisively, not endless conflicts. It's going to fight to win, not to lose. We're going to go on offense.
It's almost like it's like one of those quirky 90s sitcoms, and the main character is just like the people around the White House. You know what I mean? Like they get in this crazy like trouble that you could never imagine, and then somehow they're just able to talk their way out and make up a lie, and everybody claps at the end, and then next week it all resets and people forget about. You ever notice like on a sitcom, like every episode, like all the shit from like they get a dog and the dog causes a mess and they can't keep up with the dog, and then the dog digs up the neighbor, then they have a fight with the neighbor, and then but next week the dog's gone. Like that's what the White House is turning into.
Not just on defense, maximum lethality, not tepid legality, violent effect, not politically correct.
Why is he writing poems about it? I don't understand what the fuck's going on. Pete Hegseth is writing poems about the Department of War.
We're going to go on offense, not just on defense. Maximum lethality, not tepid legality. Violent effect.
It's a haiku.
Not politically correct. We're going to raise up warriors, not just defenders. So this War Department, Mr. President, just like America, is back. Thank you for your leadership and your clarity. We're going to set the tone for this country. America first, peace through strength, brought to you.
But this goes against America first. America First should be all about fucking defense.
By the War Department.
Thanks, I hate it.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I was looking at y'all's new Bad Boys. I was wondering if Trey Taylor was there. I need you to lock him up.
Your number is added to the block list, so you won't be able to call back.
It's state popping, you know, motherfucker.
That made me laugh. I clicked on it by accident, but it's still funny, even though I showed it on the last show.
Where are the don't tread on me people? Right. You are being tread on. Every single
Where are they at?
Rights are being tread on. States' rights are being tread on. Your constitutional rights are being tread on. And these folks are enriching themselves. This guy's buying hundreds of millions in bonds. You know, they throw around words like socialism, communism, don't know what the difference is. When did the U.S. government start buying companies? Right. I said, if you're a free market person, on so many fronts, and the total disdain for this. And I think this guy has been a genius on division and making us divided, of trying to get back to this. And I think we need to hold folks accountable.
I don't know. Where are they at? Where they don't tread on me, people. Guys, I'm out of here. Thank you all for joining us. All bad news all the time. That's what the show's turned into. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Y'all have a good night. And we'll try to get in here earlier tomorrow. Thank you guys for joining us. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good night. Support the show at buymeacoffee.com/coldbeer. And you guys have a good one. See y'all.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believers? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like four in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop. What? I'll get my files. Wait, what are you doing? Stop. Hold on. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. My mom's an alcoholic. Oh, give me oh my God. Damn it.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Round 3. Down goes Nino. Please say it isn't so. Got him backed up on the ropes, trying to ram it down his throat. Now things are getting rocking. He was doing so well. It's all over. Hands on his shoulders, they ringing his bell. You got Frog News Network doing no damn research. They rework and copy on Cox that came first. 9th inning, second string, and they acting like they know hitters. Assholes throwing bullshit, sending runs to the shitter. All this nonsense on my conscience, it's hard to sleep at night. Who the fuck is in my window with this time of the night? These parasites, these leeches, with all their secret meetings, teaching all you fucking cretins about baby-eating heathens. Believing in reasons with no meaning is bullshit. Will Bird motherfuckers out here busting the grifts. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Pissed them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in them bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit.
It's been a rough week. So yesterday was the anniversary. It's been 2 years since my dad passed away. So
Have those guts.
I'm kind of struggling with that. But I'll be back tomorrow.
Wearing 8 glasses in your
have a good one, guys.
basement, and I won't even give out your dime store handle because that's really pathetic.